Around Johnny Depp and a Pirates of the Caribbean comeback.
Ah, yes, Captain Jack Sparrow back for more.
It's a pretty wild story, especially considering everything that went down with Disney a couple of years ago.
Right, the legal battles with Amber Heard.
Yeah, exactly. And then Disney dropped him like a hot potato.
But now it seems like they might be reconsidering.
That's what this news article from February 18th, 2025 is suggesting anyway.
What exactly does it say?
Well, it says that Depp is reportedly ready to sail back into the role.
So Pirates of the Caribbean 6 could actually be happening with Depp back as Captain Jack.
That's the rumor, at least. And if it's true, this wouldn't just be like another movie. It would be a major Hollywood comeback story.
I mean, just imagine the headlines. Depp returns triumphant, or Captain Jack sails again.
Seriously, it would be huge.
But the big question is, why?
Right, why would Disney even consider bringing him back after all the controversy?
Well, the obvious answer is money.
Right.
The Pirates movies have been insanely successful, raped in billions worldwide.
Yeah, over $4.5 billion across 5 films.
Exactly. So there's clearly a huge audience for these movies, and Depp's portrayal of Captain Jack was a massive part of that success.
He really did create an iconic character.
Totally unpredictable blend of wit and swagger and just a hint of madness.
He was like a pirate rock star.
Exactly, and audiences ate it up.
But do you think that nostalgia factor alone is enough to justify bringing him back?
It's hard to say. I mean, Disney is a business. They're always weighing the risks and rewards.
The article actually mentions that producer Jerry Bruckheimer has confirmed there are 2 pirate scripts in development right now.
2 scripts, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, and Bruckheimer even hinted at some internal competition.
Oh, really? What do you say?
Something like, we're not sure who's going to win the horse race.
So Disney might have been planning for different scenarios even before these Depp rumors started.
Exactly. They could have one script with Depp and one without.
It's smart to keep their options open, see how the wind blows.
So it's not just about nostalgia then, it's also about strategy.
Definitely, Hollywood studios like Disney are always playing the long game, thinking 10 steps ahead.
And with a franchise as big as Pirates, they're not going to leave anything to chance.
Nope, they're going to explore every possible route to box office gold.
But it's not all about money, right?
Of course not.
Public image matters too.
Absolutely. Disney has to consider how bringing Depp back would be perceived by the public.
Some fans might be thrilled to see him back as Captain Jack, but others might be outraged.
Right. They have to weigh the potential backlash against the potential profits.
So it's a delicate balancing act.
For sure. This whole situation is like a case study in Hollywood's power dynamics.
It's not just about making movies anymore. It's about navigating public opinion, managing risk, understanding the cultural zeitgeist.
You got it. It's a whole different ballgame.
And it's fascinating to watch it all unfold.
Absolutely keeps us on our toes.
Well, this brings up another interesting question. How much power do fans actually have in these situations?
Ooh, good question.
I mean, could fan pressure actually sway Disney's decision?
It's possible social media gives fans a much louder voice than they used to have.
And studios are definitely paying attention to what fans are saying online.
They have to. Those fans are the ones buying the tickets.
But it's not just about listening to the fans, it's also about anticipating their reactions.
Right. Studios are always trying to predict what will resonate with audiences.
And sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they miss the mark completely.
That's the gamble, isn't it?
It sure is.
Speaking of gambles, the article mentioned that Disney was also considering a Pirates reboot starring Margot Robbie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Now that's a whole other can of worms.
Would that even work? A Pirates movie without Captain Jack?
Tough to say. He's such a central part of the franchise.
It would be like doing Indiana Jones without Indiana Jones.
Or Star Wars without Luke Skywalker.
Exactly. So how do you create a new Pirates movie without relying on those familiar elements?
It's a challenge, that's for sure, but it's not impossible.
So now we have 2 potential paths, a Depp comeback or a Robbie reboot.
And each one comes with its own set of risks and rewards.
It's like a fork in the road for the Pirates franchise.
And Disney has to choose wisely, because the wrong decision could sink the whole ship.
Okay, now things are getting really interesting. This isn't just about Depp anymore. It's about the future of the entire franchise.
And with 2 scripts in development and 2 very different directions they could take, this is one Hollywood story we'll definitely be following closely.
Absolutely. We'll be back after the break to break down those 2 approaches and explore what they could mean for the future of Pirates of the Caribbean.
A reboot with Margot Robbie, huh? Well, that's definitely one way to shake things up.
Yeah, it's a bold move, but would it even work, a Pirates movie without Captain Jack Sparrow?
It's tough to say. I mean, he's such an integral part of the franchise, you know?
He is practically Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly. So it would be a huge risk to try and reboot the series without him.
It'd be like trying to make a Batman movie without Batman.
Exactly. You need that core element that defines the franchise.
But then again, maybe a fresh start is exactly what the Pirates franchise needs.
True, it could give them a chance to explore new storylines and characters.
And appeal to a whole new generation of moviegoers.
Right, maybe introduce some strong female characters, give it a more modern feel.
Yeah, like a female pirate captain leading the charge.
That would be awesome.
But they'd have to be careful not to alienate the diehard fans who love the original movies.
Absolutely. You can't just throw out everything that made the franchise successful.
Right. It's all about finding that balance between honoring the past and embracing the future.
Exactly. And that's a tightrope walk, for sure.
Plus, they'd have to come up with a character that's just as compelling as Captain Jack Sparrow.
Which is no easy feat.
No kidding. He set the bar pretty high.
He did, and audiences have come to expect a certain level of quirky charm from a Pirates movie.
So whoever they cast in the reboot would have some big shoes to fill.
They would, and they'd have to bring something unique to the role to make it their own.
Otherwise, it would just feel like a pale imitation.
Right, it needs to be fresh and exciting, but still capture that Pirates magic.
Okay, so reboots are risky business. But what about the possibility of Depp returning as Captain Jack?
Well, from a purely financial standpoint, it makes sense.
Right, the article really highlighted how successful the original films were.
I mean, $4.5 billion, that's not something you just ignore.
No kidding.
And there's a huge built-in audience for Pirates movies, people who grew up with those films.
Yeah, so a Depp comeback could be a massive box office draw.
Absolutely, nostalgia is a powerful force in Hollywood.
And people love a good comeback story.
Especially when it involves a beloved character like Captain Jack Sparrow.
But then again, there's the whole issue of the public image.
Right, Disney can't ignore the potential backlash from bringing Depp back after everything that's happened.
Some people might see it as condoning his behavior.
And that could hurt their brand image.
So they'd have to be very careful about how they handle it.
For sure, they'd need to gauge public sentiment and craft a PR strategy that addresses those concerns.
It's a delicate balancing act.
It is, and ultimately they have to decide if the potential profits outweigh the potential risks.
It's a tough call, but it's one that Disney has to make.
Exactly, and their decision will have a huge impact on the future of the Pirates franchise.
Okay, so let's step back for a second and imagine we're the audience. What do we want to see in a new Pirates movie?
Ooh, good question.
Personally, I'd love to see a story that captures the spirit of the originals, the adventure, the humor, the swashbuckling fun.
Me too, but I'd also like to see something new, something that expands the Pirates world.
Yeah, maybe explore some different cultures and locations.
Or introduce some new mythical creatures and lore.
And maybe even delve deeper into the characters' backstories.
That would be awesome.
We've only scratched the surface of the Pirates world. There's so much more they could explore.
I agree, there's a lot of untapped potential there.
So whether it's a reboot with Margot Robbie or a comeback for Johnny Depp, I just hope they make a movie that's worthy of the Pirates' legacy.
Me too. It's a franchise that deserves to be treated with respect.
Okay, so remember earlier we were talking about those two scripts in development?
Yeah, one with Depp, one without.
What if one of those scripts was like a direct sequel to the original films with Captain Jack back in action?
And the other one was a reboot with a whole new cast of characters. That would be interesting.
Yeah, it would be like two completely different visions for the future of the franchise.
And Disney would have to choose which path they want to take.
Which is a pretty big decision.
It is, because ultimately they're the ones holding the map to the treasure.
So let's break down those two approaches a little further and see what each one has to offer. It's wild to think that there could be two totally different Pirates movies out there, like battling it out for the big screen.
Yeah, it's almost like two alternate timelines, you know?
Right, like one where Captain Jack sails off into the sunset and another where he comes back for more.
And each one would have its own unique appeal, I bet.
For sure. Like a sequel with Depp would probably lean heavily on that nostalgia factor, bring back all the familiar faces and give the fans what they want.
Yeah, lots of action humor, swashbuckling adventure, all the things we loved about the original films.
But a reboot with Margot Robbie could be a chance to reinvent the franchise, you know?
Right, bring in a new perspective, maybe focus on different themes and characters.
And potentially attract a whole new audience who maybe haven't seen the original movies.
It's a chance to broaden the Pirates world, make it more inclusive and relevant to today's viewers.
But it's a tough call, you know?
It is, because both options have their pros and cons.
Like a sequel with Depp would probably be a guaranteed box office hit, but there's that whole public image thing hanging over his head.
Right. Some people might be hesitant to support him after everything that's happened.
And a reboot with Robbie could be really exciting and fresh, but there's always the risk that it won't live up to the original films.
Yeah, reboots can be tricky. They have to strike a balance between honoring the past and forging a new path.
It's a delicate dance.
It is, and ultimately it comes down to what Disney thinks will resonate most with audiences.
Right, they have to consider the creative aspects, the financial aspects, and even the ethical aspects.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is, but hey, that's Hollywood for you.
Always a gamble, always a spectacle.
So what do you think is the most important factor for Disney when making this decision?
Well, I think it all boils down to one thing: money.
Yeah, I mean, they're a business after all.
Exactly, and their primary goal is to make a profit.
So they're going to go with whichever option they think will bring in the most dough.
Pretty much, but it's not always that simple.
Right. They also have to consider their brand image and their long-term goals.
True, they don't want to alienate their core audience or damage their reputation.
So it's a complex equation with a lot of variables.
And no easy answers.
But hey, that's what makes it so interesting, right?
Absolutely, it's like a real-life Hollywood drama unfolding before our very eyes.
And we get a front row seat.
Lucky us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this whole Johnny Depp pirate situation?
I guess it's that Hollywood is a constantly evolving landscape.
Where nothing is ever certain.
Right, 1 minute you're on top of the world, the next minute you're walking the blank.
But that's the beauty of it, you know?
Yeah, it's unpredictable, it's exciting, it keeps us guessing.
And sometimes it even gives us a second chance.
Like a pirate ship rising from the depths.
Exactly. So who knows what the future holds for Captain Jack Sparrow?
Maybe he'll sail again, maybe he won't.
But one thing's for sure, this story is far from over.
And we'll be here to cover every twist and turn along the way.
So until next time, keep your spy glasses pointed towards the horizon.
Because you never know what treasures might be working out there.
Or what storms might be brewing.
I'm Mady, the adventure continues.